In this video, we are going to learn what is OpenAI DALL-E model, what are the different ways of interacting with images using DALL-E model, and then at the end we will also try to create some new images, manipulate some existing images, and we will also try to create different variants of the same images. So let's get started. So first of all, what is a DALL-E model? DALL-E model is an OpenAI model, the same way we have a GPT 3.5 or Turbo or 4o model. What the DALL-E model does that it generates or manipulates images. So if you want to create a new image from the scratch, you will just give it a prompt in the form of text and the DALL-E model will give you the image in the response. The other thing you can do is you can manipulate existing images. So if you have an image and you want to replace some particular part of that image, you can do it with the DALL-E model as well. So the DALL-E API provides three different methods for interacting with images, and those three different methods are text to image. As I mentioned, that you will give a prompt in the form of input and the DALL-E model will generate an image in the response. You can use both DALL-E 3 and DALL-E 2 models. The other thing is editing image. If you have an existing image and you want to edit that image or some particular part of that image, you can do it with the DALL-E model, but that is supported only by DALL-E 2. The other thing is creating a variation of the existing image using DALL-E 2 only. So now let's first see text to image, which is the basic function of a DALL-E model. So what we does in the text to image, that we create an original image given a text prompt, and the images can have a size of 1024 by 1024. It could be 1024 by 1792. So all the resolutions you can see here are supported by the DALL-E models. The image quality can be standard or high definition. Based on your requirement, you can set the quality in the prompt and the DALL-E image will generate the image in the desired quality. With DALL-E 3, you can generate one image at a time. So the prompt actually does not support generating multiple images at once. At one time, it only creates one image, and if you need multiple images at the same time, you can use the parallel request to send multiple prompts at the same time, and then the DALL-E will generate multiple images based on all those requests. So this is only true for DALL-E 3, and with DALL-E 2 the case is a little bit different. So with DALL-E 2 you can create 10 images at a time. Now let's try DALL-E model to create some images, edit an image, and manipulate some images as well. Here in my terminal, what I'll do is that I'll quickly set up the OpenAI Python environment, and then in the Jupyter notebook we will start writing our actual implementation. So I'll create a project called OpenAI DALL-E. Then I'll switch to that directory. Now I'll create a Python virtual environment. Then I'll activate that virtual environment. Now we need to install three different libraries. One is OpenAI for communicating to the OpenAI API. The other is python.env to load OpenAI API key from the .env file. One other library we need is the Jupyter notebook. All the packages are installed. So next I'll create our .env file. I'll open that .env file and I'll paste my OpenAI API key. I'll close that file and now I'll start my Jupyter notebook. So now my Jupyter notebook is loaded. I'll create a new notebook. I'll call this notebook DALL-E. Now the first thing is I'll import the OpenAI API key. My API key is loaded and now I'll instantiate the OpenAI client. So the OpenAI client is instantiated. Now I can start writing my actual implementation. So the first thing we are going to do is we will give a prompt to the DALL-E model and we will try to create a brand new image using the DALL-E model. So I'll call it generate new model, and now I'll write my actual prompt. I'm using that same syntax, client.images.generate. For the chat completion, I was using client.chat.completion, and for the image generation, I'm using client.images.generate. Then for the chat completion, I was using GPT 3.5 or Turbo or 4o model. For the image generation, I'm using DALL-E 3, and now I'm giving the actual prompt, a white cat relaxing on the floor. So here I'm instructing the DALL-E model that to create an an image for me where a white cat will be relaxing on the floor. And next I can also define the resolution of the image. It could be 1024 by 1024. The other options are 1024 by 1792 as we seen earlier, and one other option could be 1792 by 1024. So these are the standard sizes which the DALL-E model supports. You need to set the image resolution to one of these resolutions. And the next thing is quality, which is the standard. If you want to generate a high quality image, you can set it to HD. So now let's run it. So the request has run successfully, and now let's see what we have got in the response. So if I print it here, you can see the response here. It says the images response. This is the object returned by the DALL-E model. It has a timestamp, it has a data attribute, and then inside the data you have the image attribute, and the image has described the image, and also the image attribute has returned a URL which includes the actual image. So now let's get this URL attribute from this response object and print it within the Jupyter notebook to see what the DALL-E model has returned to us. So first I'll extract the image URL from the response. So for that, what I'll do is that I'll create an image variable, and this is the response we have got here, and inside the response we have this data attribute which is a list, and under the list on the index 0 we have the image attribute. So I am accessing the index 0, and then from within the index 0 we are getting the URL attribute which is the .url. So we have got the image URL, and now let's print the image URL. So we have got the image URL here, and now let's try to print it in the Jupyter notebook using the notebook command. So to print an image within the notebook has a utility called image. So from ipython.display import image, and then to that image class I'll pass the image URL which we have got here from the DALL-E response, and I'll set the width to 400. So let's print it. And you guys can see that beautiful cat which is relaxing on the floor. So this is exactly what we have asked for. If you see the prompt here, a white cat relaxing on the floor, and this is what exactly we have got. So this was all about the image generation. So this way you can quickly and easily generate any sort of image with a particular resolution, and also either standard or high quality image. Now the next thing we are going to try is editing an image. So instead of getting another image, what I'll do is that I'll save this same image to my local directory within this same project directory, and then I'll try to edit the same image with the DALL-E model. So I'll call it edit image, and then first let's save me this image into my project directory. Then I'll redisplay this same image from my local directory, and I'll also create another version of this same image by mentioning a spot that I need to edit this particular spot, and then I'll give those two images. One is the original image and the other is the masking image, where I will have mentioned a spot to put something else there or edit that particular part of the image. First I'll show you the original image which I have saved to my project directory, which will be exactly the same image. I have saved this image into my project directory, so I'll display it here just to confirm we have that exact image. So I have named that image in my directory cat.png, and you can see I have this same image here. And now I'll show you another image. So that image is named as cat mask. This is the original image and this is the image which I need to update. So I'll give both of these two images so the DALL-E model can get help that how the original image looks like and what part I need to update exactly. I have my prompt here, and I'm trying this with the DALL-E 2 model. So first I'm passing my original image, which is cat.png, and the mask image is cat-mask. So I'm passing this cat mask.png and also this cat.png. And what I'm asking in the prompt that a small floor plant. So now the DALL-E model will not put this floor plant on the top of this cat or on the back side or on the right side. The DALL-E model will put the floor plant exactly at this particular place which I have masked out. So let's try this and see how it looks. The request ran successfully, and now let's extract the image URL. So we have extracted the image URL from the response, and now let's display the resulted image. And you can see the result here that the DALL-E image has placed a floor plant right on the front of that kit, which we have marked as the editable position. Now we are trying one other thing, and that is only supported by DALL-E 2 model, which is creating a different variation of the same image. So I'll call it variations, and this is only supported by DALL-E 2. So what I'll do is that I'll pass a prompt to the DALL-E model. I'll set the model to DALL-E 2. I'm passing that same image cat.png, which is the original image we have got here, and I'm also setting the resolution to 1024 by 1024. And the only difference is that instead of calling the edit function, which we saw here for the editing, and we saw the generate function here, so for new image generation we are calling the generate function, and for the editing we are calling the edit function. But in case of creating a new variation, all the parameters are same, but instead we are just calling the function create variation. So now we are passing this same image, and we are asking the DALL-E model that use this same image but just try a different variation. So now let's run this request. The request ran successfully, and now let's extract the image URL from the response, and finally let's print the resulted image. The DALL-E model has responded almost with the same image, but it's a little bit different. If you guys can notice the face of this cat. Now let's retry and see what it generates if we rerun it. And this time we can see that the image is a bit more cleaner than what we have got previously. What is next? In the next video we will use OpenAI to convert text into speech. So what we will do is that we will give a text prompt to our audio model, and the OpenAI audio model will convert our text into a speech in the form of voice.